Hey everybody, welcome to week 2. In last week's focus, we did a lot of discussing of the why of your goals, how important your why is to the end goal. And today we really want to focus on discussing, building willpower and grit. Because if we don't have any willpower, then even the most important of whys can slowly be broken away. Whenever we first start anything, a new job, a new relationship, a new diet, anything we start usually has a higher level of motivation to begin. I mean, think about it. We feel motivated to impress our new boss, our new significant other, or even just to reach our weight loss goals. But eventually, a day, a week is going to come where things just don't go our way. We might be tired, a little in pain, didn't get enough sleep. And no matter how motivated we are to start, that motivation just simply cannot always be enough to stick with what we say we will. So, what do we have after motivation, right? To keep us focused and moving in the right direction. There are really two main things that, in my opinion, are essential to reaching a long-term goal. Number one, rituals and habits, which we talked a lot about in week 1. And 2, willpower and grit. Now, with the habits and rituals, like we've already discussed, we're going to continue to add these week upon week and slowly build these up. But today, I really want to focus on number 2, building that willpower and really strengthening our mental resolve so that on those mornings we wake up exhausted and frustrated, we don't allow those feelings to deter us from our goals. But the big question is, how do we build up willpower? Can we build willpower? A lot of people often say about those with a lot of success, whether it's someone who's really fit in the gym or really successful in business, that they're just more disciplined or motivated. Almost as though they were just born with this extra willpower. But willpower is something that you have to strengthen up and build up. But the question is how do we build that willpower up? How do we strengthen it? And the answer is the exact same way that we build up muscle. We consistently and progressively train it, just like a muscle. Now, to kind of explain this a little bit more, let's quickly watch a video from Andrew Huberman, and he's going to kind of discuss this just a little bit. So as we, saw in the video, and as Andrew discussed, the portion of our brain that is being seen as directly related to willpower can actually be grown and worked on. But it's not exactly an easy process. It's something that can only be built by doing things that are hard. And not just doing things that are hard, but doing things that we don't want to. Because in life, outside of things that are essential, how often are we really choosing to do things that we don't want to do? Obviously most people don't want to go to work, don't want to pay the bills, but like earlier, I mentioned, these things are essential. These things we have to do. So those don't count. We have to be doing things that we both don't want to do and we don't have to do. So kind of think about that. How often are you choosing to do the harder thing only because it's the harder thing? Now, really quickly, I'm going to tell you a story about David Goggins, who is actually the individual that Huberman was talking to during that clip. Now, David has such an interesting story. He's someone that started off with both physical and mental limitations, and his life really showed that. He struggled in pretty much every aspect of life. He had a very difficult childhood. He didn't feel like he could accomplish much of anything. He's coming from an abusive family, and as he entered adulthood, he quickly gained a lot of weight. He was well over 300 pounds, and he just felt completely trapped. He had a dead-end job. His body wasn't where he was wanting it. He was super, super unhappy. He was depressed. Very, very long story short, he ends up seeing a video about Navy SEALs. It sets the goal that he wants to be a Navy SEAL. And it wasn't something that he just flipped on a dime and changed. He actually ended up failing multiple times. From the time he first called the recruiters and they said, there's no way you can do it unless you lose over 100 pounds. And he just felt like it was impossible. He eventually was able to, after multiple attempts, lose enough weight, go through boot camp, and then he tried out for the Navy SEALs. And he actually also failed that 3 times. Had to go through BUDS, which is the Navy SEAL training, 3 separate times, which is completely unheard of. And now, after those 3 attempts, David Goggins is a super successful, 20 plus years in the military, high level of Navy SEALs, and he's now known as one of the most mentally tough people around. He's known for doing ultra marathons, these insane physical feats, including the world record for the most pull-ups in a 24-hour period. And so my question to you is, how do you think David Goggins went from being paralyzed by self-doubt, feeling like, in his words, a fat loser that would never amount to anything at all? Those were his words. And he then went all the way to being a Navy SEAL, competing in ultra marathons, beating world records, and inspiring millions and millions of people just because of his willpower and determination. And he did it with two things. He set rituals and habits, and he had an insane amount of willpower. But that willpower was not something he started with. You listen to the way he lived his life before, he was eating out all the time. He wasn't working out. He even got fired from jobs due to laziness. He had to build that willpower, and he had to grow that grip muscle to where it is today. And now we are going to grow yours. We're going to go, taking your willpower or grip muscle from wherever you are right now. We're going to start pushing them and growing them. Now, if you see yourself as someone with a lot of grit, that's awesome. And if you don't see yourself as someone with a lot of grit, that's also awesome, because now we just get to start building that up so that you'll be able to see yourself and know that you are someone with grit and willpower. And you're going to know that no matter what, your goals will be accomplished because you're not leaving yourself any other options. That's what willpower means. Now, how will we do this? Just like Andrew discussed, we will do something hard. We are going to do something that you don't want to do, but what's that going to be? Because it's going to be dependent on you. For myself, I'd pick something that I hate more than anything in this world: cold water. For me, my willpower muscle is getting trained by taking cold showers first thing in the morning. And I can honestly say that I hate it. It's miserable. And as soon as I don't hate it, then I'm going to have to change it up to something harder and something that's going to push me. Now, for you, if you like cold showers, it's not going to be a good option for you. We're going to need to find something that is going to be hard, something that you're not looking forward to, but also something that's not going to take a ton of time or effort, right? It's a little thing that you can do each day in under 2 to 5 minutes. My cold showers are no longer than about a minute. So between the time that you finish this video and we do our check-in call, I want you to start brainstorming on things that might be a good fit for you, or I guess I should say a hard fit for you. And on our call, we're going to really nail down together what is something that is going to be hard and difficult that you can accomplish each and every day so that we can start building this willpower muscle. Now, don't be scared to start, because just like with everything in our program, we're going to start slow, right? Everything is ramp up into the big things. So like for my cold showers, I didn't just jump into a freezing cold shower right away. I started where I would, have the shower a little bit warmer, and then partway through my shower, I'd go really cold for as long as I could go. Beginning, it was 20, 30 seconds, and then I would go warm again. I then got to the point where I started working up to where I would start with the cold shower, end with the warm shower. And I'm just now getting to the really miserable part where it's a cold shower for the entire shower. I don't let it get warm at the beginning or the end. But it took a long time to work up to that. Now, for you, we're going to really discuss what that option is going to be on that phone call. So just kind of be thinking about those different options of what might be a good fit. Now, on this video, the last thing I really quickly want to discuss on today's weekly focus is sleep. Now, sleep is so insanely important to both our minds and our bodies to be able to grow and recover. If you're not sleeping enough, your sleep is poor, then it's going to affect not only your mental capacity, but it's also your body's not going to respond to the physical nutritional changes near as effectively. Now, sleep is a hard one to fix depending on what your issues are if you do struggle with sleep, because if you're like my dad's side of the family, it's an actual medical condition. And so sleep is less of an option and more of kind of a hope or a dream. But most people who struggle with sleep have things that they could change up to improve that sleep quality. And they come down to, once again, rituals. How many of us are, watching TV on our phones or snacking right before bed, or maybe even in bed as we're trying to fall asleep? Probably a lot of us. Now, I'm going to kind of go over a couple of little things that we can change up or tweak, kind of like sleeping rituals or nightly habits that can improve our sleep. I'm just going to go through a couple options. Just kind of keep your mind open, because we're going to add in one sleep ritual. It doesn't have to be from this list. This is just to kind of give some ideas. So just kind of listen to these different ones. The first option is deciding upon a set bedtime for every single night. A lot of times people, with work or different things like that, go to bed a lot earlier during the week and then super, super late during the weekends. If you just have a steady schedule, a consistent night's sleep is one of the biggest things to help get us into a schedule, a rhythm, and allow our circadian rhythm to kind of help us fall asleep. Number 2, putting away all electronics and blue screens at least an hour before bed. This is just going to help the mind rest, turn off, and the body systems to start shutting down so you can fall asleep. Avoid eating food an hour before bed. Often, if you eat a meal right before trying to sleep, the body's going to struggle to fall asleep because it's busy digesting, right? As soon as you start consuming food, the body's systems are kind of ramping up, and it can make it a lot harder to fall asleep. Another one, stretching, breathing exercises, or meditation. These can be super helpful for just allowing the body and the mind to relax, recover, and just kind of get in a mindful sleeping state. And then the last one that I've found is super useful is just reading a good book that you enjoy for 30, 40 minutes before you fall asleep. Now, each one of these things have been studied. There are a ton more. There might be things you add in already. But for this week, I just want you to pick one thing that you're going to do or change to improve your sleep. Again, it doesn't have to be on that list. Now, if it is one of the ones that I mentioned, specifically if it's like stretching or meditation or breathing exercises, those are things you want kind of some guidance through. So in the follow-up email after our call, I'm going to include some links to some YouTube videos that are, nightly stretching, meditation videos specifically for sleep, and also breathing exercises specifically for sleep. So if you end up picking one of those as your 3 habits, just check out those different links, see if one of them fits, might be a good fit. It definitely can make a huge help. But other than that, just make sure you schedule our weekly call on Calendly, and we'll talk soon.